Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of America in Black and White. Tonight, we have a very special guest. We have Apostle Derrick Zachary. Derrick Zachary is going to take us down a road of his leadership. He's going to take us through community building, and he's also going to take us through healthcare. Let me tell you all a little bit about Apostle Derrick Zachary. Apostle Derrick Zachary is the founder of Walking in Authority International Ministries and Walking in Authority International Fellowship of Churches. He was born in Opelousas, Louisiana, and currently resides in Atlanta, Georgia. As a young man, he never knew the purpose of his life, but he did know that God had a plan for him and that it was going to be great. Apostle Zachary attended college in Toccoa, Georgia, where he studied music and communications. He has been in ministry for more than 27 years. His first speaking engagement was done at the age of 17 in front of 27,000 people in downtown Atlanta for the March for Jesus. He is noted for being one of the first men in Atlanta to perform praise dance and mime. God used that as a platform to get Apostle into many doors that led to numerous souls being healed, delivered, and set free. Apostle Zachary has been used in many capacities, which include but are not limited to helping set up churches. Presently, Apostle Zachary has a degree in the field of medical assistance and healthcare management, just recently receiving an honorary Doctor of Divinity from the School of the Great Commission in South Carolina. He said he always has the scripture in mind: cry loud and spare not, tell my people about their sins. Isaiah 5:8-1. He considers himself just another soldier down in the trenches like everyone else. He has assisted in building up many ministries, setting a foundation of order and training for those who know where they fit in the kingdom. Apostle Zachary wrote his first book this year entitled Psalms of a Prophet. In the midst of all, I got an answer, which is available on Amazon and Kindle. Also, Apostle Zachary has created a scholarship on bold.org that is given out to the students young and older twice a year. Apostle Zachary has also started moving forward in the music and the movie world that God has set before him. Apostle Zachary has done a stage play, Safe Place, dealing with AIDS, HIV awareness, and KPO Productions. Did his first web series entitled You Stand, We Stand Together, directed by Sheree Vaughn. Apostle was quoted as saying, I cannot escape what God had for me. I am reminded that many are called, but few are chosen. God uses me to restore the churches back to where they need to by speak out against sin and giving depth, insight, and revelation to God's word. He is known as the great illustrator. During this season, Apostle Zachary is bringing organization together from around the world and all teaching denomination that we must come together as one body in Christ. Apostle Derrick Zachary leaves us with this statement. As my overseer, Apostle LaDonna Aquanjo of Full Gospel International says, I was born to worship. They presently have a church that they are building up located in Nigeria, Africa. In this time of teaching, the altar apply, love to all relationships, which is the platform that we are continue to stand on. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Apostle Derrick Zachary. Hello, sir. Welcome to the show.
Hey, how are you doing?
Oh, look like you got caught in traffic.
I did. I was trying to get to my house before this would even start. However, we know how Atlanta, Georgia traffic is.
Well, welcome to the show. Is there anything else you'd like to add to your bio?
I think you summed it all up. And I was laughing when you were trying to pronounce my hometown. Um,
How do you pronounce that?
it is Opelousas.
Opelousas. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. You're back.
yeah. My city is where we make all the Creole seasoning.
Okay. Good deal. So if there's nothing else to add, let's jump right into the show. Um, can you tell us what motivates your leadership? Understanding the driving force behind leadership decisions can provide valuable insights. So, what motivates your leadership?
Well, just I think all of my life name means leader, ruler of people. And I think just being in a place or a position to be able to help and guide people in any area, and just watching um, places, even on my job, of when sometimes the ball falls, nobody picks it up, or everybody expects somebody else to do it. And so I was just always been in that place to say, let's get it done. We know what to do and how to do it. Let's just go perform it and do it with excellence. So I think it's just that part of it that it just always brings me to that part to just bring people into a place. Even when I try not to be in a place of leading, it tends to always fall back in my hands.
Okay. So that's just an innate natural thing that happens that you're just a natural born leader.
Yes, sir. My father has always told us if we don't do anything, at least run a company. He was a construction worker, and so he was like, "I don't want y'all to work outside, run the office." And so I think that has always stayed with me, coming up as a child. To listen, just run it.
Hey, ain't nothing wrong with that. That's a good thing. How do you balance humility and assertiveness in your leadership style?
I think if there's no humility in your life, it will become a tyrant. And I'm always reminded, as you read in my bio, that insert apply love to all relationship, the altar. God just kind of taught me that he just simply said to me that um, people will bring information to you and problems, and you bring it to me, and then I will respond accordingly. And so sometimes having an ear to hear when other people feel all hope is gone, you have to stay in a posture of humility to be able to be used. And so I never think myself to be bigger than anybody. We are all equal, and I try to put everybody on the equal plane. Um, we know mindsets are different and people think different. However, we all have something to share, and we all have input that we can make an impact on everybody.
So, tell our audience what is the difference between apostle, pastor, minister, bishop, and all those other things? What's the difference?
Well, in the word, there is no such thing as a minister. It's not, it's just ministry. And so people call ministers because we try to make a difference between genders. And so as a pastor is a shepherd, someone who guards the house, that takes care of the flock. As an apostle, my job functions in many roles. And so I set foundations of building or establishing churches, and go in, and I can go into anybody's church and give training and help and guidance and be part of that. And so you have bishops, which is a pastor, but just have extra authority over different churches. And then an evangelist is somebody that is a forerunner, like John the Baptist was a forerunner. He's considered an evangelist. And then you have your teachers, and that's self explanatory. And then you have prophets. those that see into the future. And so we so that just kind of they give insight. They are the mouthpiece of God.
So is that like a hierarchy?
Um, in the church world, people like to put hierarchy, but according to Ephesians, the Bible says he called some apostles, some prophets, some evangelists, pastors, and teachers. And he said in Corinthians, upon the apostles, prophets, and teachers, I built the church, I set the foundation. And I think we just like to make hierarchies and to be in a dominant place. To say, oh yeah, I got this position, but God created us all equal. We just operate different.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's definitely some clarity, and I definitely appreciate that. What core values guide your decision making process?
One in that accountability always is part of the core, because no matter what position I am in, I always have somebody to answer to. I always answer to God, but I also keep people around that I'm accountable to. Whether it's my friends, whether it's other peers in the gospel or peers in the business that I can go to for advice when I don't know it. And so that builds the core to keep that integrity, to keep you honest. And I always get people that really don't know me. I keep one person that knows me and a couple of folks that don't know me. That way, it's not a bias um, answer or a situation, and that I'm able to take constructive criticism and just keep that at the forefront, so that if I make a mistake in something, I I can be able to fix it or get the guidance on how to fix it.
Oh wow. I think that's really interesting. Is that another version or another form of what you would call like team building, and how you want to have things situated?
Yeah, and like team building again, that's that place of getting people to all be on the same mindset. Because it is a hard place when you are working with people that do not have the same values, integrity, just that whole place of cohesiveness. So again, our job is to just bring everything into unity so that we can function together.
Okay. How do you encourage creativity and innovation within your community?
I'm always looking for creativity in people, because as an artist myself, that does dance and singing and poetry, um, that's all part of creativity. And even in the business world, creating an atmosphere of coming together. So I just kind of look at people. God has always given me the ability to just kind of see people where they are and pull out their best, pull out those places that they may think is a hindrance or they in, and just kind of tap into those areas and to bring it up another level so that you have the confidence in it.
So, when it comes to the encouragement part, I mean, how do you encourage these people in the creative space?
Well, I do. I have all types of stuff that I do. Whether I'm having a poetry night, or we having a singing night, or a drawing night, or whatsoever. And I have a talk show called Raw Talk. And so I'm always just having those places of dialects that are going on, so that we can just find where we are, so that we can come into a place of, I don't have to be ashamed of anything that I do, but I can come into that greater place in me. So I'm gonna always push you. I'm gonna always ask you what you're doing. How does it look? What have you done with it? Where do you want to go with it? All those areas. And if I have connections to the right people, then I'm gonna get you to the right people.
Okay. So, what strategies do you use to build strong relationships with community members?
One thing that I do within my church with the brothers, um, every Friday night or Saturday. we're either just playing cards and having conversation, or we're going bowling, or we're going out to eat, and just kind of having normal conversations of where people mentality, where they may be struggling at, um, whether it's relationships, whether it's work skills. We kind of do like a little mentoring program. Even I help people in the way that they dress, how to present yourself on interviews, um, how to talk, what to say, what not to say, just those areas, because a lot of times people don't even know what to do on an interview. And so just opening those doors, and I'm a type of person, as they would say, I have a ton of clothes, but I do not mind giving them away at all. That's just who I am. I've been preaching before, and the Lord will tell me, uh, take this garment off and give it to somebody in the middle of the service. And so I don't mind, because again, all of those things are minute things. If I'm able to be a blessing to somebody, that's what I'm going to do.
Amen. Amen. Oh wow. That's really special. And so it's like, how did you realize that you had a calling?
Well, I grew up, my mother is a pastor, my brother is in ministry. And so I never wanted ministry. I was like, I would sing and dance. I was like, I'll do that. But again, it's who God created me to be. He was just like, yeah, that's cute. I have something else I want you to do. And so I went to Toccoa Falls College. It's a Christian college. And like all of a sudden, God started dealing with me a whole lot. Of everybody would come to my dorm room. I would be counseling people, praying for people, and I was like, I don't know what y'all preparing. They was like, "You gonna be a pastor?" And I was like, "Yep, nope. I just came to get an education. I do not want to do this because I watched all of this growing up, and I know the hardship and a lot of times of what people deem preachers' kids should be and how they should act or whatsoever. So I wanted none of it. But again, that it was just strong upon my life. And again, like you see me today, I'm just a regular person. I'll sit down and have a whole conversation with you. And then in one breath, I'll be like, oh, by the way, the Lord told me to tell you A, B, C, D, and E. And then I'll go back to a regular conversation.
Wow. Ooh, okay. How do you address healthcare disparities within your community?
Oh, since I'm in the healthcare field, I have worked in internal medicine, pediatrics, OBG, family medicine, behavioral health. So you name it, I probably have done it. And one thing that I do in my church, I have a health day, and I just talk about health, what to look for. I teach people how to look at your insurance, what your insurance will cover, what is covered when you have a physical, how to take proper blood pressures, how to take proper diabetic checks. I'm a CPR instructor, and I'm a massage therapist. So I am always teaching health, and because I love to cook, I'm a cook as well. I teach people on what to eat and what not to eat concerning your body, and exercising. And one big thing I tell people is getting your mental capacity under control. A lot of people do not want to deal with mental issues, especially in the Black community. And we have a lot of people that have been diagnosed and undiagnosed with ADHD, bipolar, schizophrenic, just anxiety, stress. And so having out activity places allows your mind to settle down without racing. And we need to learn how to have those places that we can communicate and build a safe place. And so I harbor, because again, in the body of Christ, I can't preach the gospel of Jesus and tell folks that they can come into healing and me myself walking around sick. It's got to work both ways. He said, be in good health, even as your soul prosper. So if my spirit is going up, my body needs to match it. And so again, I'm a firm believer in don't speak something and it hasn't manifested in your life. The powerful testimony is when you have walked it out and you can tell people, this is how I overcame and this is what God did.
Oh wow. Now that was powerful. That was powerful. I want to thank you for that.
You're more than welcome.
What role does empathy play in your leadership approach?
A whole lot. Empathy, I think a lot of times people get empathy and sympathy mixed up. We do a lot of sympathizing with people, but we don't have a lot of compassion for people in circumstances and situation. And so, um, being empathy in my own life, I've dealt with a lot of things. And so, when I tell somebody I understand, come through, and this is how you can make it out of this. And so,
Give us a second here, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry about this. This is a situation here. We got to get this under control here. Okay, you're back.
yeah, sorry about that.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, just being in that place to understand a person and where they are and to be able to share in their moment makes a world of a difference because not only can you give advice, but you understand it and you've made it out of it so that you can compare with the next person because each person's situation is different. And so how you experience this is how you experience. Never negate somebody experience.
Right. So, how do you ensure inclusivity and diversity in community initiatives?
Building a safe place, basic building a safe place. And in the medical world and even in the church world, I teach HIPAA. HIPAA is that privacy law that protects information. And so again, if you can't trust me, then there is no reason why we are having a conversation because again, you don't believe in who I am. And so I give people that place, and as a leader I hold a lot of information, and sometimes it can be overwhelming for those that are, and so this is why we have to have accountability people that can pour into us at the same time, and so that we are not overwhelmed, because contrary to popular demand, we get more leaders that are taking their lives, committing suicide, and all of those things. And so being more aware and being more intuitive to who's around you and what's around you is a place that we have to build if we're protecting one another, because the scripture says, I am my brother's keeper. We need to hold true to that we are our brother's keepers, and that we can be able to help one another and accept the help. Because sometimes we giving help, but people don't want to accept the help. And you got to know when you can give help and when you can't give help, and be okay in that moment. And so again, building that safe haven that people can come and know that what they share is not going to be on Channel 5, but they feel the love. All God has told us to do throughout our love is love one another and treat your neighbor as you would treat yourself. And so if you don't love you, this is why we treat people the way we treat them.
So, how have you dealt with those situations where you couldn't give help? How did you deal with that? How did that make you feel?
Um, I can speak on something recently. I was actually ministering to somebody that was in my church, and it was in a moment that God was kind of asking them a question, and they just refused in that moment to receive our answer because they were flooded with all of the stuff that church people had did to them.
Oh,
Um, and so it was in that moment I had a conversation afterward, and I said, "This is the first time I could not reach you." And I said, it bothered my entire spirit that I could not reach a person, but they were in that their own turmoil. And it was in that moment when they heard me say I couldn't reach them that a light bulb went off to say, oh, I shut everybody out because I have been used to people hurting me. And so when you're dealing with somebody that has dealt with hurt on top of hurt on top of hurt, and that's all they know, that's what people put in their brain. That's all I'm going to receive, and that's all I expect people to do. And so to hit people in a different way, it takes a while, it takes a moment. And you got to know sometimes that every person you can't reach. Even the scripture says, I wish above everybody would be saved. He said, but there won't. And so even Jesus knew I can't I can't get to everybody. Um, and so it's a hurtful place sometimes that that you can't get to everybody, but I've learned that it comes with the territory.
Well, so what challenges have you faced in promoting healthcare access for underserved populations?
Some I don't think I really had challenges in it. I think people just don't understand their benefits.
Mm,
And so teaching people their benefits on what to use, because sometimes people just think just because I have insurance, they just gonna pay for everything. And so really making people to be an advocate for a person so that they understand their health, and that they have to be a partner in it as well. And what questions to ask for, my church people, I give them a list of questions when they go to the doctor's office. You need to know this, and this is what you need to ask. You don't understand your blood work, do not accept a doctor just telling you everything is fine. Look at your blood work yourself. And I actually go through the blood work with them, how to read it, what to look for, what can we work on so that it can be better. And then some stuff is just straight genetics. You can be doing things well, and some stuff is just straight genetics. And so some people are, they get upset when their body starts to go through different things, and explain to people that some things are just genetics. You can be doing right and stuff will just hit you out of the blue. And there's nothing you can do about it, but you just need to be more aware of circumstances and situations, how to look for certain things when it happens, what to do in those moments.
So, but because all those were really wonderful, but how do you promote this to the community? How do you promote this? How do you get
Oh,
that out?
yeah, I mean, I do a lot of um, health fairs. And so, not only in my church, when other businesses that I know have community health fairs, sometimes they ask me to be a part of it. And one, getting more churches involved. Um, we have health fairs in malls and stuff, but you have few churches that have health fairs in the church. We can believe Jesus all day long, but Jesus also give us common sense as well. I tell people, listen, I can't pray for something that I don't know what you got going on. I can do a general prayer, but again, when you come to me and say, listen, I have diabetes problems, now I know how to pray. I know how to direct my prayers. Um, and come up with some solutions. And so again, just having those moments of where are the health fairs? We got a health fair going. I think a couple of weeks ago we just did a community event. And so the church was part of that. We got to read poetry. We got to see different denominations, and just understanding different religions all in one umbrella. And so again, it's just in those moments of even teaching them, like if you're gonna have a community, where were the police officers so they can talk about the crime in the area? Where are the government officials? Let's talk about the public schools or whatsoever, to make the community more aware of certain situations and to really get people out. I think, doing voting events, that's the only time you see politicians, because they want your votes. And then all of a sudden they disappear. Where are those politicians, after they get in office and say, hey, we're doing a community event because I want to meet the community. I want to build the community. Let's get the real leaders together so that we know how to function together in unity to shut down all of this crime that we got going on. And so, we don't just need watchdogs. We need people that can be able to come into the community and truly make impact and not sell another vibe to the people.
Ooh, well, I tell you. You said a mouthful because what you said just speaks to what we do here at America in Black and White. It's
Mm,
about building those underserved communities and putting back and making sure that people can get the best of what they need the way that we can get it to them, of course. But it's going to take more than just my small morsel to get out because this is a whole lot larger than myself, but it doesn't mean I can't try.
yes, sir.
Um, how do you collaborate with other leaders to address community needs?
Um, well, part of my ministry that I do, I actually have different fellowships that are up under the church. And so, like, I have a fellowship in Mississippi and one in South Carolina. And so, the first thing I always ask them, what's going on in the area? If you can't tell me what's going on in the area, we gonna start there first. Because you can't have a ministry and the community don't even know you exist. Um, and so that's one of the areas of just kind of getting leaders more involved inside of the community. I think way back in my day, not that I'm extra old, but I remember, you know, the church used to go door to door to check on one another, to check on we ain't see Mother Johnson in the church this week. What's going on with Mother Johnson? Oh, can one of y'all go and cook her a meal? Can y'all, that I miss that harmony of community like we used to do. Half of the time we in a neighborhood and our next door neighbor don't even know who we are. Because we do not have those conversations or break bread. When I first moved to where I moved, um, I'm in a community with all elderly people. So the first thing they did was they was having a barbecue. Hey, we are so and so, and I was like, hey, I'm so and so, and they can you cook? Yeah, listen, I love to cook. Listen, and that's how we have to do in those moments. And so again, we miss those opportunities to really understand our community. I live right across from a funeral home that is always packed. And so just being impactful for those all of these grocery stores and Walmarts that we around, our community need to know who we are if we are truly leaders. So that we know and how to operate and organize and be involved to just make a difference. Whether your neighbor may need groceries and you can be that blessing to them to say, hey, just wanted to drop some groceries off to you. And so again, it's just taking that time to know your neighborhood. We move in and be like, so we throw parties and your neighbor right there going through and suffering. And we act like we don't know because we don't want to be involved.
So, because I think what you're saying has got a lot of value. What would be some of your suggestions in order to get people to come more together and to build the community together? What are some of the things you would suggest?
Um, Community barbecues,
Mhm.
invite the people out. This is why I always say these great government officials need to be out at the park talking about we having a barbecue. And just hearing the needs of the people. Like my talk show, I cook at my talk show. And so there is a complete meal for whoever comes. So it can be 30 people at the show. 30 people gonna eat because I cook like I'm always cooking for a mass of people anyway. Because you never know who may show up in those moments. And so things like that, and just whether we got all these clothes that we buy and don't wear, we wear it one time and we ain't seen it for the a whole entire year. um just pulling those things out. We see all these homeless people, and the only time we acknowledge the homeless is when it's Christmas time, Thanksgiving, a holiday, and like we gonna do our charity. And it's sad when we can be involved, nursing homes, all of those things of just going there, making impact. And so barbecues or a musical or something that people are not just out here just saying, oh, now we got to pay to go to a musical when we could, impact and say we have this going on, so that we can make change.
So, what lessons have you learned from setbacks or failures in your leadership journey?
Don't overexert. meaning don't try to dominate something, get everybody involved. One person cannot do it all. You can have all these great ideas, but there is always people that do it better than you can. And so having the right people and the right sources to flow together makes a world. I have a news reporter that's in my church, and so when I need to know anything or somebody, I had a young lady call me. She was going through um, a domestic violence situation, um, and I immediately was like, "Oh, I know somebody um, that could be able to help," and pass the number on. And they were able to help that situation. And so again, knowing what you can and cannot do works wonders. As yourself, you a whole tax person. Ain't no need for me to try to tell folks how to do taxes, and I don't know how to do taxes. Get them to the right person. Hey, I know somebody. Mr. Charles King does taxes. He's been doing this for a while. Bring your information to them, and I'm sure they can walk you through the process. It
Right.
takes, who makes a world of a difference. And when you start doing these referrals and keep it flowing, you building community and you building that residual to happen so that we can build communities.
Wow. Oh, how do you prioritize mental health and well-being in your community programs?
Woo, I always tell people, especially in the church, get you some balance. Um, listen, because sometimes we will church people 24 hours, but they don't know how to read a book. They don't know how to rest. They don't know how to just go to a movie. They don't know because we make it so we just make it so much. I always tell people this is why I started having Friday nights. We going out to play cards, or we going to a movie, or we just going out to eat. And we're not talking church. We just having down moment. Or I tell people, listen, I will get in my vehicle quickly and go take a trip somewhere. And just relax and breathe. We don't have to do nothing. Go check yourself into a hotel. I don't care if you got a house. Go check yourself into a hotel, because as long as you're in your house, you start doing stuff. When you're in a hotel, you relax. You have the mentality, I'm relaxing. Let me jump in this pool, jacuzzi, or whatever going on, and just be in that space. Go get you a massage. Go find places. Go walk in nature. Walk in the park. All of these things. We complain about too much stuff. It's too hot outside. Okay, it's too hot outside. Go walk inside. There's always something to keep those, find those outlets. I promote it everywhere I go. Get you some rest. I will tell the shut your phone off. Shut the internet off. Take some apps off your phone. Oh, if you know you get anxiety when the phone rings, that lets you know you're doing too much.
You team too much. You are absolutely right. I agree with you 500% about that. And actually, to be honest with you, now I've just gotten to the point now where I'm getting a whole lot better because now I put that do not disturb on my phone, and I don't
It
even
works
worry about
wonders.
it ringing.
It works wonders.
Uh, what steps do you take to ensure transparency and accountability in your leadership role?
I, that is one thing most people can tell you about me. I'm very transparent when it comes to certain things. I always tell people, if you want to know something, ask me. Don't make an assumption. Don't get it from the he say, the she say stuff. Listen, just come and ask me. And I will tell you. I will tell you either A, this ain't a good moment to talk about it, or let's have this discussion. Um, one of my testimonies, I tell people I used to be a stripper. It almost shocked people when they hear it. However, like you just got shocked. Um, and again, it just kind of happened by happenstance. I was a professional dancer and a gymnast, and so I used my skill one day, and then they booked me for the rest of the month. And so I got in it. I didn't stay in it, but I did it. So I know how to relate to people. I've been my family, my mother used to be on drugs, and so we had drugs coming in and out of the house. And so I tell people, your circumstance don't make who you are. You can either succumb to it, or you can overcome it and become better. And I've always been in that place to always want to be better and obtain better for myself. And so I didn't have to do drugs. I saw it how it made people crazy. I was like, I'm crazy all by myself. I don't need nothing else to add to the some stuff is just common sense. We try to cope with things, and this is why we say, oh, this is why I do this and this is why I do this. My own son, I fuss all of the time about him smoking weed and drinking, and he was like, well, I'm trying to calm my nerves. Boy, you don't have nerves. When you get to where I'm at with all this stuff, then you can say you have some nerves. I think we justify a lot of things of why we doing what we're doing. Now, if it's a mental health situation, then go get the help that you need, and get around the right people, the right places. And so it's in those areas of your life. I use a quote on most of my stuff. To know me is to know the depth of me. So if you don't know me, then you will never know me. And so get to know people before you make your own ideal about somebody. I've had so many people say, well, you do this, and this. And I was like, well, where did you get that information from? And I was like, and what importance is it of to you? Because you're not even involved in the situation.
Mhm.
So I think a lot of people get to know people. We fail to get to know people. Sometimes we feel like we're unapproachable, but as a leader, I'm never unapproachable. Just come and sit down and talk to me. I don't, the worst thing you can do is lie to my face. Then we're gonna have a whole major problem. Just tell me the truth and let me deal with it. And then move on from there.
So I want to ask you this because you just said a whole mouthful. How did you, or where did you get this strength for all this resiliency, for all those things you had going on in your earlier life coming up to now? Where did that come from?
Because at the age of 14, I was about to have a heart attack from holding so much stuff in.
Hmm.
I literally was having chest pains in church about because I was dealing with so much. My father died when I was 11, and so I ended up becoming a father, to siblings and helping. And then my mother went on drugs after my father died, so now that added another source. And so I've always been a protector, and so I was protecting everybody. And so again, realizing that I was about to have a heart attack at an early age, I was like, yeah,
Hmm.
we not holding stuff in no more. We listen, we not doing this. Whatever you got to say, because my main thing that God had to deliver me from, I had a bad anger issue. Like you looked at me wrong, and I would punch you in the face. It was that bad, and like no, my nose would bleed. It would skeet out blood, like literally almost every day. Because all of the stuff that I was doing, I don't know what it's like to be a child because I've been an adult for so long. And so I've learned to know what's my fight and what's not my fight. And if you have so much to say about my life, but you don't make any impact to change my life, then you have nothing to say to me. As they would always say in the world, if you're not doing the three F's, if you're not finances, feeding me, or having sex with me, then you have nothing to say to me at all. Um, and I'm sure the good people will probably be like, whoa. But again, if you're
But
not making any of those things, you have nothing to say. And if you are that invested in my life, then you should be impacting my life. But if you're not impacting it, then you are somebody that is a depreciation and you're trying to lower my value. And I can't allow you to lower my value when I have a great appreciation on my own life.
well, I just want to ask you this as well. So how did you develop or grow into having patience?
Raising children. Listen, that is the best answer I can give you. Having children teach you patience. Having a ministry teaches you patience. Because again, I had a short fuse, but I learned if I'm going to help people come into, I gotta have patience because everybody's journey is different. If because I think real quick and I think probably 10 steps ahead of you, if a person thinks 12 steps behind me, I got to let them think 12 steps behind me so that they can function in that place. And so if I know that when I go in my house, I'll automatically start cleaning up, but I have somebody that I know is lazy and it takes them 3 days before they start cleaning up, I got to give them that grace to get there. But after them 3 days and you haven't gotten there, then we going to add value to you. Um, So, but you got to give grace. You got to give grace to and allow people to come into.
Uh, how do you navigate ethical dilemmas related to healthcare decisions?
Ethical is the key word.
Mhm,
Like I always tell people, is this about you or is it about them?
mhm.
And so when you recognize that if something in my own life is something I know is unethical, and because I've seen it in the medical world, and on different business, listen, they can call me crazy or whatsoever. We're gonna call this good compliance line. That's what we made it for. I can be anonymous and say, listen, this is a situation, and how do you want to deal with this? Because I've been in different positions where people have, matter of fact, I was on my job, I was drawing blood on a patient, and the patient decided to take her hand and rub it across my stomach. And she was like, yes, Lord. And a lot of times people talk about how much women go through, but they never talk about on how much men go through sexual harassment on a job.
Ooh.
And I'm approached a lot on my job, from patients, from nurses, from doctors, and so it makes me uncomfortable because if I'm there to do a job and you've been doing this quite a while to different people, um you gotta have those, you gotta have strength, as you say, and know how to work it, and sometimes it works against you or it works for you, and most time it's always the opposite, it works against you, because again, sometimes we put the wrong people in the wrong positions.
You,
um
it's something I will tell you this that when you mentioned that harassment, I was an actual I was an actual federal employee. The very last job I worked, I was sexually harassed by my director. How about they did nothing about it? EEOC didn't do not one thing. So they can't be transparent. They can't
yep.
they can't have ethics. And so for them, this was a thing where, it's like they can do whatever they want to do and they know there's going to be no repercussions. So I can, it's a little different, but I understand also when you say what you say, how you have to handle things too, because
it,
that worked against me.
it will real quick. So you gotta pick and choose your battles sometimes.
What initiatives have you implemented to promote preventive health care?
Well, since I work for companies, I listen. I just kind of just tell people do your health checks. Stay on top of your health checks. If you're gonna be out here participating, get to know who you participating with. Don't just jump in the bed with people, because again, HIV and all of these STDs are at an all-time high because we won't have conversations with our partners about different things and what you got going on with you. Understand this: when you fail to make mention of you don't have situations in your life, it is a federal crime. And that is an assault, and you will go to jail. And so again, if you are HIV positive, please let people know. If you will have syphilis, gonorrhea, herpes, whatever, have those conversations. Sex is not that serious to where we got to sit here and just out of out of body, out of mind. I want to get in the bed because I need to get my rocks off at this moment. It is not that serious because again, you come into the clinic and got to get shots and pills, and some stuff is not even curable.
Oh,
Um,
especially that new strand of syphilis they talking about.
uh,
They say that
yep,
they replicated into something that's really untreatable.
yep, it is. What is the one that came to New York? It was a new ringworm, a
Oh,
sexual transmitted ringworm that you get now. Um, and
oh,
I'm like, and because this person literally said, I was in all these countries having sex,
oh no. Oh no, no,
and
no.
now you bringing strands into communities and stuff. And so, when you bring in something in because you won't have literally, I see stuff that just amazes me. I had one patient, every STD there was, they were positive for.
Oh hell no.
So you have a whole combination package deal. Um, and I'm like, half of the stuff you knew you already had because I can tell by the numbers, and you're out here just having sex and doing God knows what. And I'm like, you got to be better. And I'm
How can
like,
they do something like that?
people just do it they do this out of sight, out of mind. Because some people may not even have symptoms. Um, and so they are going around. And sometimes when you don't understand your body talking to you, letting you know something's going on, you will override it and you will keep pushing, keep pushing. This is the whole purpose of resting. So you know what your body is saying to you. Um, because if you peeing green, listen, that's
You ain't
because it's
no
been there for a while. It's been there for a while. If you, I listen. I am so aware of my body. When a new mold hits, I'll be like, "What is this? What's going on? This don't look right." And people can call me who I am, but I know my body. And so, if something happens, then I can tell you A, B, C, D, and E. When you looking crazy, talking about, I don't know why I swole up down there, but I just participated with this girl or with this guy, and I knew something wasn't right. And I always tell people, if you knew something was right and you still did it, why are we even having this discussion right now?
Oh, oh
This
man.
is what people say to us in the office. And be real when you come to the doctor's office. We can't help you if you won't talk about your real symptoms.
Exactly.
Don't you coming in there for a back pain and then all of a sudden I'm trying to figure out why we doing uh shots and all of this stuff. Cause listen, you
Oh my God.
UTIs cause people to go into a dimensional state
Especially
when
if
you
they had
it's
it
not
for a while.
treated right, because it sits there. And certain medications can cause you to have certain things. This is why again, and please finish your antibiotics. I've never seen people say, "Oh, I started feeling well," and we stop. That don't mean that it's completed. Finish the completion of the antibiotics so your body starts to build its immune system up. Start taking care of your body. Have the conversation. Listen, if we gonna get into the bedroom scene, let's have this conversation
Mhm.
and be honest. Let that person choose whether they want to deal with you or not.
Yes.
It is not the end of the world because you have HIV or you got other these things. Listen, if you're keeping up your numbers and all of that stuff, you can have a healthy life. It's when you don't do what you're supposed to be doing and you acting ignorant.
Yeah. You're exactly right. You are exactly right. How do you foster a sense of belonging and unity among community members?
Know where you fit in because every group you don't belong to.
Hmm.
I always tell people, rich people build themselves around rich people.
Right.
That's a community. If you build yourself with low-minded people, that's what you're gonna succumb to.
Oh,
Um, and so again, I mean, it is what it is. If you wonder why you can't grow, because check who you with. You an eagle hanging with chickens,
oh,
right? Eagles operate different from chickens.
yes.
And so again, you don't look like a chicken, so stop acting like a chicken. You just gotta let folks know for real, where do you want to be. When I used to be in the restaurant world, I had the highest customer service and I had the highest workplace of managers, and they was like, how did you get all these people to come into management? I was like, well, first of all, you got a person that is in college for business management and you got them washing dishes. Why? I
Oh,
was like, give them the opportunity to show you their skills. When you put them, and I said, you got to have everybody on one accord. If they want bonuses and raises and stuff, show them the P&L. I shut the store down and said, listen, you want to know why y'all ain't got a raise? Red line right here on because food keep going out of this door. Red lines on somebody keep cheating the time. Red line on, and so once they saw it, I'm listen. You're over all of these cashiers. Make sure they registers. It's this and how did that problem? You are over the line, and I'm gonna hold y'all accountable. Once they had that whole mentality, I had 5 people they wanted to promote to management but couldn't because they were teenagers.
wow. So you had them on the one.
Yep, and they parents would bring that if they didn't go to school, they did not work for me. Oh,
Hmm.
you out of school? Oh, don't worry about it. You're not gonna be working. I'm gonna hit you in your pockets, and next of all, you're gonna bring me these report cards and stuff. And so they consider me their parent. At the parents will come and say, they did such and such at school. Oh, okay, I got this. You can clock out, go home. I appreciate you. If you gonna clown at school, you can't clown. You can't be here working. Get your lesson, be better. And so when you have somebody driving that force in you to be better, listen, people appreciate that. Whether people say I'm not hard like that. Listen, my child, no, listen, you can't live in this house. I'm sorry. You don't want to go to school, you don't want to do nothing with your life, you can't be in this house.
I know that's right. I know that's right. See, that's the kind of well, now they say it's a crime to do that kind of stuff now. But I know when there was childhood rearing, especially when I was coming up. Oh no, that kind of stuff, that's not just tolerated. You ain't gonna do it, period. And if you do it, you're
Right,
gonna pay for that.
you're gonna pay for that. I mean, you already charging the parents a fine when the kids miss school or they out of school. So why can I not be a parent? Say, oh, you're not about to live in this house. If you want your independence, we can go down to the courtroom and get you your independence, and you can figure out how to be grown all by yourself. Because again, everything in this house belongs to me.
Exactly. Exactly. This is what again, children. I hope some of these young folks are listening to this because instead of them trying to be friends with the children, they need to be parents.
I told
Being
my son,
friends will
I
cause
will
damn
never be
problem.
your friend. Listen, I tell my child all the time, we not friends. Because when
Exactly.
you lower me down to be a friend, you will start doing stuff like I'm your friend. And we ain't cool because we ain't at no club together, we ain't smoking together, we ain't drinking together, we ain't doing none of that. We ain't buddies. No, when you can pay all these bills in here, then we might consider being friends. And then we might just reverse the role and let you have this, and I'm gonna go move somewhere else because we don't want to bump heads.
Exactly.
So
You are absolutely right. What role does technology play in advancing healthcare services in your community?
technology is the world as we see it should not be, since we all got shut down a couple of weeks ago. At my company, it was bad. And I think we've gotten so dependent on technology that we done forgot how to do manual things.
Yes.
Um, and so again, it's quicker for me to do manual stuff than to get on the computer, even though I know it like the back of my hand for my IT skills. But it's quick for me to do manual stuff, and I don't miss much when I do manual stuff on the computer because you just clicking, clicking, clicking. You can miss stuff. But when you know you gotta dot them I's and cross them T's, you stay on your A game. And so again, technology plays its part, but I think people shouldn't be so dependent on technology until they just because the generation after us, that's all they know is video games and computer stuff, and they become dumb at opening a book, um, or having personal conversations with family or adults, or they don't even just know they don't even know what a resume look like on a paper. Oh, I sent an email, or we doing emojis.
With
Um,
the text message.
right. Everything is an acronym to something. We don't have time to try to figure out what you mean. This is why we have miscommunication, because we're trying to decipher your note. Just tell me what you pick up the phone, call me. Let's have this conversation so we don't misunderstand. Text message leaves room for misunderstanding. And so again, that's what technology does. It handicaps people for having real personal one-on-ones with individuals.
How do you address burnout among healthcare professionals?
Woo! If COVID didn't teach us nothing else, being burned out, I think that's the first time people actually knew what medical professions actually did and what we deal with. And so it is being in the medical field, you got to know your limitations, know what you can and cannot handle, and what sector of the medical field you want to work in, as nurses, as any part of it can just wear you out, period. And because patients come in and give you a hard time, doctors come in and give you a hard time, peers come in and give you a hard time, or when it's past the people's prime, you got them folks that should have retired 60 years ago, but they still trying to work,
Man,
and they won't train anybody. They always have something to say. They don't want to help. They always calling out. They show up to work and they not working. They just looking at everybody. I done did this, baby. I ain't got to do this no more. Listen, that is time for you to retire. Our job is to instill in the next generation. So listen, if you have the skill of great customer service, bedside manner, teach that, instill that. And so again, and making sure you take your proper rest. We work a lot. We work in 10, 12 hours in a day, sometimes 24 hours when there is a situation or a chaotic situation. And so knowing to say, listen, I don't work 40 hours. Everything after is overtime, but I'm gonna need 3 days after this, to desensitize, um, and go home and click the TV off. Just just breathe, get in your Zen moments, put on some meditation music. And different religions like the Muslims, they praying every 3, 6, 9. They have that. You got to have an ritual of what you do, as a leader, as a pastor over church. Listen, I gotta pray before I go to work. Oh, I'm praying while I'm at work. Set this day, command your day, declare over the day, is what I do. Command your day and then function in that. Be ready for every obstacle there is, but when I leave this, don't take your job back home with you.
ooh, what you talking about? Leave it at the door.
Lead it.
What strategies do you use to engage youth in community leadership?
I just figure out what's going on. That's the simple. What's going on in the neighborhood? That is the best way. Or just even with the church member, what's going on? What y'all got going on? What can we do? Or where are we going from here? And so those are the questions I'm always asking everybody. That's staying abreast and watch the news. We don't like the news because all the stuff they show, but you need to watch the news. You need to know the current events, what's happening in the world. It's a sad place to watch a church that don't know anything that's going on in the world.
Mm. Um, how do you envision the future of healthcare and community development?
Healthcare is not going anywhere. Um, a little tweak here and there because again, as we get all of these wonderful presidents that come into play, each one has their own idea of what healthcare looks like. And so you got to be on board with the insurance company, the FDAs and all these federal things so that we are in compliance um, with policies and procedures so that we are helping this nation, this world, so that they can have better health care. Obama did a great thing when he gave health care to every person because they were allowed to get stuff taken care of that they wouldn't normally get taken care of. And so to do away with these things, and now you got people paying for all kind of stuff, and they can barely keep their kids and stuff. That's crazy to me. We got to make things that is affordable and helpful to the body of Christ. Um, into the body of this world so that we are not missing it and so that we are in good spirit, good health. And again, if you're going to go to the doctor, take the doctor's advice, but also be in care of your own health as well. Some things don't need medication. Some stuff just need a mind change and a
Mhm.
health change.
Yeah.
And so those things work. Holistic medication work. Back in the old days, I grew up on a farm. We didn't have all of this processed stuff. People now today, kids don't even know what a going in the garden, picking tomatoes and shucking corn and uh, picking
Pick
chicken eggs and stuff. They don't know all of that, and we wasn't sick like that.
right
All thing we were worried about was chicken pox. And when we got it, we put everybody in one room. Y'all all gonna get this chicken pox.
together.
And we're gonna come out here. We're gonna go ahead and go play. You might have a stomach virus or something every now and then. I dealt with strep throat. That's about it. That's all I dealt with. Now everybody dealing with high blood pressure, diabetes, cancer, tumors, blood clots. Just different thing because we sit down too much. We watch TV and sit down, all that. This is why blood clots happen because you're unstationed. You're just stationary and you're not movable. And so you got to move your joints so your joints can move. Um, I'm too young to be bent over on a walker and a cane talking about, I don't know what's wrong with me. Move these joints. I was a gymnast. And so, listen, I like being active.
That's what's up. So, how do you promote collaboration between different community organizations?
Where my church is, next door is a music studio. Next door to it is a whole school. Go find out uh what they do at the music studio. Find out what are they offering at the school. And my ministry, we have developed a scholarship. We didn't just develop it for kids, we developed it for adults that go back to college and stuff. So it's open to anybody to and you can also you can add to the scholarship. And so we automatically started off at 500, but throughout the weeks or the months, there are people that are sewing into the scholarship, and so we're able to give it to more than one person, or one person can get a whole lump sum of a scholarship. That makes a world of a difference when you at college, and you need them extra coins or whatsoever. And so again, I'm always finding out what's going on around neighborhoods, around just any place. When I'm traveling to a whole nother state, what's going on, what we doing, what's the plan. And so I went to Red Lobster when I went to Cincinnati, and end up the waitress that we had, I heard the Lord say, I had $100 in my wallet. He said, take that $100 out and so to her. She has a need. And I gave her the $100, and she just broke down and started crying, and she was like, I can't take this. I was like, yes you can. You're not gonna miss your blessing of what the Lord has for you. And so making a difference in somebody's life makes a world of a difference because you never know what somebody is struggling with.
Oh wow. Ooh. Now see, that's a moment. These are some of the things I'm sure that you do this a lot. So, like, just in doing those things, I mean, Are these things that do you ever document any of these things?
I do not, because again, I think I take that scripture say what you do in secret, God rewards you openly. Even at my own appreciation, when people appreciation, I give out gifts to people. And they was like, I've never seen somebody that gives gifts to everybody else and it's your day. And I was like, that's just who I am. I've always been that way. I'm like, I can't I can't be appreciated if I don't appreciate who helped me get here. I didn't get here by myself. I may have the blueprints and the plan and have executed it. However, you know, if it wasn't y'all praying and covering me and y'all going on trips with me to different places to, to do all of this, I'm celebrating you guys. This is our day. It's just not my day.
That's what I'm waiting to get to the point that I can actually do that for the small team I got that's helping me with this platform. Because I can honestly say, without that help, it would not continue to escalate if it wasn't for them.
It makes it work. Even if you're just doing gift cards every other week or just saying, oh, I just wanted to give this to you. I do that all the time. I buy them clothes, all the stuff. I don't order something. I'd be like, oh, by the way, here you go. And they were like, what this for? Oh, just cause. And I know everybody's sizes. Listen, I can estimate everybody's size. It's gonna work. And everybody will always tell you if you ever want to get a gift from Derrick. He gives the best gifts. Because again, I'm not gonna give you something that's rinky dink. I'm gonna go out of my way, whether it's rings, bracelets, necklace, shoes. That's just I, listen. I had just met a another pastor friend of mine, and he was like, "I like your garment that you got on," and I was like, "Yeah, what's your size?" And he told me his size, and I said, "Okay, so this will be at your house in 3 days." Um, and they was like, "For real?" And that's just who I am. I don't even have to know you. If God placed something on my heart to do, I'm doing it. No
Oh wow.
questions asked.
Mm. That's oh, that's I don't even know what that's got me kind of like speechless because it's always great to to have good people that you can affiliate and associate with. That's just them
Yep.
because when you're just you, it makes not only I guess if you want to say how people like to be comfortable, or they just like okay, well, just having the company that it means that much, and so it sounds like to me that in just being this great giving person that you are, the authenticity that you present is what draws people to you. Is that
So
safe to say?
it is sometimes too much because people come with the expectation they're gonna always receive or they're gonna always get something.
Mhm.
Or I have a ton of people that's always in my inbox. Well, we just going through and and I was like, listen, all these scams, listen, I'm not moved by any of this. Listen, you can be bleeding. I'm gonna look at you. If 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 I have not been pricked in my heart to do a thing, I'll look at you all day long and I'd be like, oh, okay. I was like, but didn't you just say this last week to so and so? And so again, if it's a cycle of you always repeating, like I know people that they come, oh, I'm going through this. I don't understand why people doing this. And I was like, it ain't the people, it's you.
Mhm.
Like you got to make some changes in your life that listen, I never wanted to be in a position to where I beg people for stuff or that's crazy to me. I'm like, I understand when things hit you unexpectedly, it's one thing, but when it's a routine cycle, that means you're not a good steward over your life, over your finances, over your health, and you want everybody else to be your lifeline. We can't be lifelines because it will wear you out, and then stuff will hit your life that shouldn't be hitting your life because you keep helping somebody's hand that is cursed.
What strategies do you use to address health literacy within your community? Your community.
Oh, pamphlets. Um, I just anything when it comes to health. I'm always listen. I do checkups on the people. When is your doctor's appointment? And don't tell me, oh, I don't know, because I'd be like, oh, okay, give me your insurance card. I'm gonna set your doctor's appointment up for you. Listen, every person. I had a young man that came all the way from Dallas, and one day I just happened to be checking my blood pressure, and I was like, oh, let me check your blood pressure, and his blood pressure was sky high. I said, so what we gonna do? We're gonna check your blood pressure all weekend. If your blood pressure continued to be high by Sunday, we going to the emergency room. Sunday came, his blood pressure was sky high. We went to the emergency room because now you have high blood pressure for real. So we're gonna address that. And I just happened to look at his blood work and say, did anybody address your blood work? And I was like, yeah, because according to this, your sugar is 300 and something.
Mm.
So on top of that, he had hypertension and you diabetic, and he had no clue about it. And so we went to this doctor's office, and I was in that doctor's office with them. Y'all gonna do this, and this, because we're gonna make sure all of this is taken care of. And so now his sugar is regulated. Now his blood pressure is regulated. Because again, we go around just thinking we are all right, and we don't be all right because we won't go to the doctor.
Mhm.
Certain things can be prevented if you do the preventative care, whether it's every 6 months or once a year.
You're right. How do you handle conflicts or disagreements among community members?
How do I handle it?
Hmm.
It's funny you asked that question. That is the one question I ask every church member or leaders that come to me that want to be part of the ministry. That is my one question I ask. How do you handle conflict in the church? So, how do you handle conflict in the community? First of all, we need to address the issue on what is the real conflict, and what are we having a problem with, and can we come to a resolute place of agreement of like minds, or is this something that cannot be resolved, and know when to cut ties with something, and know that, or a place to where we can build from and learn from this, because some things is just real small seeds that have been sown, that if we can kill it in the beginning, then it won't become a great big discord amongst people that don't even make sense, because half of the stuff people got issues with is so minute, and it don't really have anything to do with anything. You got a problem at home and you've been taking it out on people uh,
Yep.
this whole time.
Yep.
Let's deal with your home life. So
Oh, good. Look, you know you ain't doing over telling the truth with that. What role does membership play in your leadership approach? Mentorship, I'm sorry. What role does mentorship play in your leadership approach?
mentorship is a necessity in anything you do, in any business stream or church or in your own house. You got to have somebody that you can look to say, um, tell me the steps how you got through this. Tell me what this looks like. I grew up with the like my grandfather, all of the older men, and so they taught me the game early on. My grandfather woke me up at 5 a.m. on the morning, and we going out into this good farm, and we gonna get this farm together. And I'm like, I don't want to get up, but it taught me worth ethics. And so again, I've always worked. I've held 2 and 3 jobs. Um, I don't just, people automatically when they say they get a degree, I should be making this. Listen, I was working 2 and 3 jobs because I got certain things I got to work my way up. I know my worth, I know my value, but we come out the womb talking about, oh, I need to have 50,000 off the rip, because and you don't have no life skills, non-life experience,
No,
and so you need those mentorship to guide you on how to do. I used to, when I go on used to go on interviews, I used to talk about the last company I was with. They did this and this, and the young lady stopped me. She said, "Let me tell you something." She said, "You're great." She said, "But what you never do, I don't care how bad a company is, you do out the company. You came into something better, and you wanted something better. Period. Keep it
mhm.
simple." And so again, conflicts. We just keep conflict because we got personal lives that we don't want to deal with and come into a place of positivity, negative sphere, like people that can put better. And
So, how do you advocate for preventive healthcare measures?
I'm there with the people. I'm there, or if I can guide, you know, maybe on medications, conversation. Y'all have this conversation, and then I let her know from there of what happens because older people don't tell you everything. My mom had been hurt, and then I'm quick to say, "Mama, did you check your blood?" Well, no. Uh, check your blood. Matter of fact, just go to the hospital because you you don't have time to. And then she and advocate, especially for elderly people, understand certain things. It is vital that somebody go with them to the doctor, and making sure that they are in compliance with their regimens.
Yes, and seems like your internet is kind of like going in and out. Um, let me just let me just ask you this one last question. What advice would you give to aspiring leaders in the healthcare field?
Um, be passionate about what it is that you do. I think a lot of times nurses, doctors, no matter who it is, have lost their passion. When you are passionate by something, you show the excitement in it. And so that's what I would tell the leader. Keep the excitement, keep that passion, keep that drive. It works wonders. It helps modify a person's well-being, to come into the ability that they want to be better, that they want to understand where they are at. And so as a leader, and making sure that you're guiding your team, to have that same type of drive and compassion. The wonderful bedside manners work wonders when a person is already going through turmoil in their life. And so making transitions become easy works well. And even as a preacher, when I got to go to hospitals to pray or go see about people that may be getting ready to transition on, I got to be, you know, strong enough to be able to console an entire family, also pray for them, also guide them on what to do, um, when they may not understand certain things.
So, so in closing, um, what is it that you like to leave our audience with for motivation, inspiration, and the embetterment of their lives?
I would leave them with know yourself and know what you can and cannot deal with. Because when you know those things, you can have a better environment, of what you can tolerate and what you cannot tolerate, and always push for the better, push and strive for the better, push one another for the better, and to really do like the scripture says, love one another. Because again, the greatest commandment Jesus left with us is love. And so allow love to exude who you are. Um, and as the altar, the acronym for it, apply love to all relationships. And so each person nurture that with love. It makes a world of a difference, and people will respect you more because you will keep it honest and you will keep it true.
Well, I'd like to thank you for taking the time to talk with us this evening. Also, I want to tell you this is the first ever interview that's been done on the road. I mean, it made for a really good show, but it's really different, and it kind of had me a little bit nervous, because you was driving. I was like, Lord Jesus, please let him get to where you got to get to. But this was really interesting, and I really loved the interview, and I'm sure that our audience is going to love this video. And I thank you so very kindly for your time.
Hey,
But
you
those
more than
that are watching on our YouTube channel, please hit the subscription and notification button so that every time we do have a show, you will be privy to that show where you can watch it either in its entirety or you can catch it when you catch it when you get some time. I'd like to thank Apostle Derrick Zachary for spending some time with us and giving us some insight as to leadership, community, and also just life in general. That is with the healthcare part, because it means so much for all of us to not only keep up with our health, but to do things that we know are much better for us mentally as well as physically when it comes to living a great life as best as you can. Thank you all for joining us this evening. We will have another show tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please tune in and enjoy your evening.